This is the Speaker's Scoop, a behind-the-scenes podcast with Washington House Speaker Lori Jinkins. It's House of Origin Cutoff week in the Legislature, and Speaker Jinkins, what's on your mind?
Well, one of the things that's on my mind is just getting a little bit of rest. Those are big days to do House of Origin bills off the floor. We were up late for a lot of nights. But the last day, House of Origin Cutoff, we have to start our last bill by 5 o'clock. We can't start any other bills after 5 o'clock. The House and the Senate actually have kind of different rules, but that's the House rule on it. This year, the bill that we were intending to do, or were hoping to do as our 5 o'clock bill, was a bill related to juvenile rehabilitation and helping the Department of Children, Youth, and Families be able to open more facilities if they need it, but also to review the sentences of young people who had been sentenced to Green Hill and other facilities to see what kind of progress they'd made and whether or not they'd be appropriate for discharge into the community. So it had a balance kind of those two things. This was particularly important to us, one, because the Democratic Caucus thinks we have a real obligation to young people to help them grow up and mature to be healthy, contributing adults. And we want to make sure that we're not keeping young people incarcerated when we don't need to be doing that. And, there's so much as there is in our entire criminal justice system, there is incredible disproportionality where Black and brown youth, especially Black and brown men, are particularly targeted with our criminal justice laws and with ending up incarcerated as a result of both their actions and the way our laws are set up. So that was work that we had been doing all session. We ended up not being able to do the bill because we had moved a great distance. We had incorporated a lot of feedback over the session from lots of different stakeholder groups and moving people to support the bill more and more. And even within the caucus, this will be the second year that the bill was considered by our caucus. We really grew the support for the bill within the caucus, but we didn't have any Republican support for the bill, so we needed to make sure we had 50 votes. We didn't end up having them, so we ended up not doing a 5 o'clock bill. We worked right up until 5 on other bills. Of course, I was disappointed. I think this is a high priority topic for a lot of different reasons. For me, for our caucus, and it's something that Washingtonians should really care about, how we're launching our kids off into adulthood and making sure that we're helping shape them be as successful as possible and not creating a school to JR to prison pipeline. That's not what anybody should want for our young people. So that was a disappointing thing, but almost immediately I was left actually feeling kind of victorious in an odd sort of way because of all the movement we'd been able to do on the bill. I got into the political world working on LGBTQ rights issues, and by the time I got here and started working on them, when I mean here, I mean got to the state of Washington in the late 80s is when I moved here. Folks had already been working on an LGBTQ anti-discrimination ordinance for almost a decade and hadn't been able to get it passed yet. And it took us 19 more years after I arrived, a total of 29 years, to get a state law passed saying it was not legal to fire somebody from their job because they were gay. There were so many disappointments along the way. But I always have to take the long view of things. That taught me right off the bat to take the long view of things and to realize that as long as you're making progress, even though it's so disappointing not to get to what you think might be your stopping point or your spot of success, you don't achieve quite that. You're just a little bit short of it. As long as you're making progress toward it, that actually is progress. So some might say I'm rationalizing, but I think that based on my history, this is the way I work on all things in the legislature, is try and look for where we're making progress and where we're stuck, and then try to get us out of our stuck spot so we can keep on making progress. So this cutoff was a different sort of lesson for folks, but a good one still to remind us how we move forward.
Washington House Speaker Lori Jinkins. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Thanks, Jen.